Have you ever seen the Gibson White Buffalo? Excuse me. Have you ever seen the Gibson White Buffalo? The Gibson Moderne? Man, I love these guitars. They're just wild and crazy. Just two wild and crazy guys! Look at those headstocks. Hey man, how you doing, Gumby? I'm the dog from Gumby. I don't know the name. It's because they call these things the Gumby headstock. These are a 1982 and a 1983 Gibson Moderne. Well, they're examples of one of the weirdest, strangest, most talked about stories in the history of guitar. Because this is the reissue that many believe wasn't a reissue. Because in 1957, Gibson, under the supervision of Ted McCarty, who chose from hundreds of different submissions, 3 wacky shapes. 2 of them I guarantee you know very well. The Flying V, this being Neil Sean's 1982 Flying V. Oh man, this is terrifying. And the third one being, so hold on, let's see the family photo. Oh, look, it's a different Flying V. So we have the Flying V in 1957. We have the Explorer, which is originally the Futura. And then we have the Gibson Moderne. We have the patent for it. Check it out. I'll throw up a picture. Ted McCarty applied for it in 1957 and got it in 1958. And the story goes that at NAMM, brought the Gibson Futura, which became the Explorer, the Flying V, and they could or could not have brought the Moderne. They all got not very good reviews, but supposedly the Moderne was so bad, it never even made it to production, while the other ones had very limited production. To give you an idea, they only made 18 1958 Explorers. I want to say like 50 Flying Vs, like a total of like about 100 each between 1958 and around 1960-ish, although they were blowing a few of them out of the Gibson morgue for years. That's another story. But the question becomes, did this guitar ever exist? Because to anyone's knowledge, nobody has actually confirmed an original 1958 Gibson Moderne. So Ted McCarty was convinced they had made at least 2, if not 4 prototypes, and that he saw them. And to the day he died, said that they were made. In fact, that they'd even fitted a case for one of them. In 1963, Ken Wall, who was working at Gibson and later became the founder of Heritage, borrowed a guitar to go play Bye Bye Birdie for a high school production. What did he borrow? A Gibson Moderne. He said the thing was completely ridiculous and definitely not meant for country music, and put it right back in the Gibson morgue. Nobody's been able to confirm that there was a real one. In the 1960s, there was a guy in Kalamazoo that claimed that he saw a prototype. Claims the body was real, but then it was re-necked with a Melody Maker neck. Some wild stuff. But nobody ever saw the Gibson Moderne. Until Billy Gibbons, the man, the mystery, the Reverend, my friend, dare I say, from ZZ Top, supposedly has a Gibson Moderne. And my friend, Jimmy Wysocki, the mayor of Mahwah, New Jersey, and myself, presented to Billy Gibbons a key to the town of Mahwah, New Jersey on behalf of Les Paul. And when we did, Billy schooled me a little bit about his Gibson Moderne. Check it out. Now, I've heard that you have one.
We have something.
You think it might be it?
That, by all indications, no one is, including me, no one is willing to say this is it. The background is rather fascinating in that it came to me through one of our tour bus drivers whose dad was a guitar player, and guess where he was from? Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Wow.
Guess where he worked before driving a bus? Gibson.
Wow. So wait, are there pictures of this, or have you kept it under lock and key?
I'll send you photos. It's well documented. Walter Carter in Nashville, George Gruen.
Oh yeah.
They've all scratched their heads, and we're all going. There's a couple of snapshots. There's a couple of guys that ran music stores that had gathered in Chicago for the early NAMM show. The Explorer, the Flying V, and the Moderne, those designs came from Detroit. They hired an automotive designer to dream up these crazy pointy looking things. What makes this one interesting is they advertised the wood as being Corina, which was basically African
limba, white limba, right?
Limba.
Yeah.
But this particular instrument has a limba body, but a mahogany neck. The headstock is odd. And
Is it one of the
Gumby?
Yeah, the Gumby looking one.
Headstock. And it's simply got
just a G, right?
The rare G. I think that the Gibson, you know, the plastic embossed.
Yeah, yep.
The one that came on the Flying V.
They hadn't made it probably yet, right?
Had not been made. It's an oddball, but talk about sounding great.
I've seen pictures of you with one with just is that it? Do you bring it on stage with you?
Yeah, well, yeah, we took it around the world. It was part of the touring. Someone said, "You're kidding." I said, "Listen." I said, if it gets stolen, no big deal. Nobody's going to believe it.
We don't know if it's real. But in 1980, Gibson decided to reissue, or maybe make the first iterations of this guitar. And when they did, same deal as 1957, 58. Everyone was like, that thing looks ridiculous. I'm not going to play one. So only 183 official Modernes from the 1980 to 84-ish run of the Heritage series exists. And this one, let's take a look. Look at this sexy thing with the double Clausens. And those string trees are so weird. We go up this rosewood fretboard to this strangely balanced yet crazy Corina body. Yeah, Corina is African white limba. And what a great wood that it is, because of all these guitars. I think I have 5 of them here. 2 Modernes, 2 Flying Vs, and an Explorer. Every one of them resonates. They're just amazing. It's just... And I don't really like playing Flying Vs because, you know, with a Flying V, you kind of have to do like that. Like, it's not really my thing. I've never been a Flying V guy. If I'm going to awkwardly sit with the guitar in my lap, let's go full-blown weird, right? This thing just looks wild, but it feels nice because it's only like 7 pounds. So let's talk about it. You got an ABR1 bridge. It looks like in this thing, gold hardware. 2 Tim Shaw patent applied for humbuckers. So these are the 80s era Tim Shaw PAFs. A lot of people really love this era of Gibson pickups. They're cool. Everyone's been trying to copy the PAF forever. You got 22 frets and just a really super comfortable C-shaped neck. And it's just one tone machine. But the other thing was, in 1984, when they cleared out the Kalamazoo factory, they sold a bunch of these bodies. There have been a few that have surfaced. In fact, some of the people at Gibson, all of which are dead at this point. So like that's the other thing, is these stories died with the people at Gibson. There were Gibson employees that said not only did they make prototypes, but they left extra bodies around. So in the early 60s, there were people taking from the Gibson morgue some of these bodies and Frankensteining them together. So there's a good chance, maybe, some bodies got out of the factory. Ted McCarty said, hey, they fitted a case to this thing. Billy Gibbons might have one. Who knows? All I can tell you is, I'm just glad I got to hold such a wild animal, which we may never see again because the Gibson Moderne is critically endangered. There's only 183. Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?